Another day, another generator. So if you noticed when I introduced the Caterpillar generator the other day, it was sitting on a military trailer. Well, the MEP-804A was the trailer. Well, I went and purchased an MEP-804 military generator. Most military generators that are now on the market would be the MEP-802, the MEP-803, the MEP-804, the MEP-805, 806, and 807. The 802 is 5,000 kilowatts, or 5,000 watts, sorry, 5 kilowatts. The 803 is 10 kilowatts, or 10,000 watts. The 804, which I have here, is 15,000 watts, or 15 kilowatts. The 805 is 30 kilowatts, and the 806 is 60 kilowatts. These are what we call tactical quiet generators. And what that means is they are extremely quiet. Now you can go look at a bunch of videos that tell a lot more information than I'm able to give on these generators. The very, very popular one is the MEP-803. The MEP-803 is a single phase. This particular generator is a 3-phase. So there's some stuff you have to do to get it to run single phase, and you basically end up with only 10K of single phase power. There are some denotations. So in other words, this is an MEP-804A. There is a B. You would have to look up all of the specifics as it relates to the engine. In this particular case, the MEP-804B has a Yanmar diesel engine. This right here is MEP-804A, which has an Isuzu diesel engine. Basically, we can go through the tag right here. So it's MEP-804A. There's all the numbers and whatnot. It does 122.08 3-phase or 240/416 3-phase, 52 amps in the 122.08 or 26 amps in the 240/416. Dry weight is 1,885 pounds. You have the dimensions. The manufacturing date of this generator was March of 06, and I will get into some of that. All of this is just basically the layout of these. And then here is the tier 2 reset. So it was rebuilt in March of 2011. And it basically then at that point, the generator was set back to 2.4 hours. And then any hours since then would be since that rebuild. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up all the compartments and I'll show you all of the components of the generator. So this generator was originally mated with that trailer that now is holding the Caterpillar generator, which we've since made a little progress on, and I'll update that in a future video. But I'll start just with the controls. So here's all of the power. I'll just call this the power compartment. This is how you switch it between 122.08 and 240/416. And then all the controls and everything. Nice thing is all of the diagrams are here on the generator, so you can kind of pick everything apart. And then here is the Isuzu diesel engine, along with all the wiring diagrams for the engine, whatnot. And this right here is a vent, so to the outside, because it's a tactical quiet generator, it's extremely quiet with the enclosure closed. So here in this part of the generator, the biggest thing here is if you want to dead crank it. So in other words, you can crank it over if you want to test something by in here. Overall, pretty clean machine. I'll probably eventually replace all the filters and whatnot, but for the hours that are on it, which I'll show you in a minute, I'm not too concerned. Fuel tank is down there. We did have to do a little work to the fuel tank after I bought it. But you see 4-cylinder diesel engine, pretty long running engine. Battery compartment down here. Really fortunate. This thing came with basically 2 brand new batteries, so shouldn't have to worry about that. We have a storage compartment. Over here is the other side of the engine. You've got your starter, you got your coolant reservoir, and then there's that fuel sensor right there. And I'll explain what that fuel sensor does when I get over to the control panel. Now, interestingly enough, down there you can see that Melton tag. That is actually who rebuilt this engine. I don't exactly know what was done to it or what to rebuild it, but it was completely rebuilt, and they actually specialize in rebuilding these types of components. And then in this case right here, fortunately, they left us all the paperwork for the final test after the rebuild and all the information for that rebuild. Lifting diagram right here, fuel cap right there. And then we get around to the control panel, which is really cool, or at least I think it's really cool. So on the control panel, you have your diagnostic ports, which I have no earthly idea how to do. If you want to parallel these generators together, so if you want to hook two generators together, you can parallel them. And then you have your convenience receptacles, which are 10 amps, 120 volts, 60 hertz. This generator is switchable from 50 to 60 hertz if you so choose. If you see one of these generators like a MEP-804A, those generators are 400 hertz, and they're for aircraft, so Air Force sells lots of those. So over here we have all of our fault indicators. You can push to reset the lamps if necessary. Here's the GFCI for the convenience receptacle. Fuel level, coolant temp, oil pressure, battery charge, and hours. This generator has 238 hours. Those should be the 238.6 hours since the rebuild. There's no telling how many hours it has on it prior to that. Master switch, so preheat, prime, run. So preheat, off, prime and run, auxiliary fuel, prime and run, and start. The prime, run, and auxiliary fuel, basically once you have started the machine, what it will do is you can actually set this machine up to draw fuel from an external source. Going back to our fuel sensor that we already talked about in here, when that fuel sensor right there senses that the tank is below half full, it will automatically start a transfer pump that transfers fuel into the fuel tank to fill it back up. So you can use an external fuel source on this machine. Emergency stop, parallel if you want to parallel them. Frequency, like I said, 50 or 60 hertz. Panel lights, basically the green lights there. This turns the generator on and off, quote unquote, so basically provides power. Percent rated current, hopefully we'll be able to do some load tests on this generator into the future. We have percent power. Voltage gauge is a little hit or miss in my opinion, kind of flickers a little bit. And then we have our battle short, which basically this is the switch that probably everybody wants to use, you know, or everybody would like on some equipment when they can't figure out a safety switch. But basically by using this switch, you ignore every single overvoltage, no oil, no fuel, and it will run until it dies. Up here on the cover, we have all of the information for pre-starts, whatnot, ambient temperature, lubricating oil, coolant, capacities, everything else. And you have your synchronizing lights down here for if you want them to be synchronized. Output wise, I did not go over that, but your lugs are down there. That'll probably be covered in a future video when I hook this thing up to power things. So let me get everything closed back up and then we'll crank it up and we'll see how quiet it is. All right, so let's fire this thing up. So prime run, so basically this is the auxiliary fuel switch. I don't need to preheat it because it's almost 90 degrees outside right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn over to start. I'm going to leave it on start because if you don't hold it there, what'll happen is there'll be an undercurrent condition because the exciter on the generator has not fully excited yet, and the generator will not produce enough power. So let's fire her up. There it is. So quiet. open this up. You can see how much louder it got. So if I want to turn it on, close your interrupter, now we have power. So this is our power. You can change the frequency. And you can test all your voltages. Change your voltage, you can. So that is the MEP-804A. Hopefully we'll use it to run some of the three-phase equipment. Hopefully we'll use it to run some of the three-phase equipment around the shop in the future. But for right now, it's actually going to be stored in the new shed. So I will do some videos on it as we move forward, and you know, as I go to use it for different things. And yeah, so I'm kind of excited to have it. This is why I'm going to fix the Caterpillar generator that I just purchased. Well, I purchased this in late April, and I purchased the Caterpillar generator in early March. So or maybe I'm about a month off there. Maybe I purchased this in early May. And I purchased this in early May, and I purchased the Caterpillar in late March. So we're slowly, I should have turned that off before, yeah, I should have turned that off before I shut it down. My fault. But we'll get all the switches and everything figured out, and I'll get better at running it. So anyway, I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.